So this is from the Sports Business Journal. This is part of their story as they kind of unwrapped what's happened. ESPN, Fox, and CBS all put in late or last-minute bids for packages for the Pac-12 games. But the bids all came in way lower than the conference wanted. How low? Commissioner Kliavkoff only presented the conference presidents with the Apple TV's bids last week, never brought that up apparently, or at least appears he did not at least put it on the table. Fox's bid was for a package of 13 games, for which would pay about $35 to $40 million per year, which would have been $3.5 or $4 million, depending on how many teams are left. Fox's bid essentially was what was considered part of the conference's B package, and there's more to that as well. But Bob Thompson said this, Jim Williams said this, Patrick Craig said this, that there would probably be someone linear that would come in, but the problem is they're going to come in, they're not going to bid against themselves. They were going to come in lowball because they could. And so apparently they all came in with something, but not much at all was on the meat on the bone.
That's pretty comparable to the CW ACC package, $35 million for 13, one game a week. And that wasn't going to get it done. They wanted the whole encompassing Power 5 package, and I'm sure that I would really like to know the logic in not taking all this stuff to the commissioners, although ESPN made them an offer a year ago, which they said no, and rejected and took it to market, and that was the biggest mistake that they made. Obviously, they should have just taken that and run with it, because once they turned it down, then the sequence of events, came to pass.
Yeah, I mean, if you were hoping that everything stood together, if you're Oregon and Washington, I think you're pretty happy with the way things went, actually, because it got you where you wanted to be. But, yeah, you're right. Like, they should have just taken what they had when they had it if everybody wanted it to remain as it was. I mean, that at least partially explains the whole – there's new people at the table, that you started to hear there towards the end. And there's new, however that was phrased by a few people of, there's new suitors at the table or whatever. And, certainly didn't feel like that from the outside. It felt like they were getting close to the end and things weren't lining up the way that they needed to be lining up. But then you hear, there's new people at the table. You're like, who is that? Like, could somebody be coming out of left field? And there was the whole CW thing. It's like, oh, man, is the CW going to be the one? They come and gobble up a lot of the games for the Pac. But no, a bunch of people were interested, obviously, so that was true, but just not to the level as well of making a difference. So, when you're at in a position of weakness like they were, I mean, who's going to come in and save the day? I saw that a lot over the course of this entire story of like, well, what if Apple just spends like $1 billion? And it's like, but why? Why would they do that? Well, they've got lots of money. Well, you don't stay rich by just burning money. Like it's like a compost or something. Like you're smart with your money. So there was this like Superman idea that somebody was going to swoop in with a big network logo on their chest and just give you this huge bounty for no reason other than just the kindness of their heart. And that never made sense. And so, yeah, they had lots of interest apparently, just none of it was major interest. And that's, one of the many factors that played into their downfall. That it's still very unfortunate. I know it's a victory in so many ways for the Big 12 right now. But it still sucks, and it still sucks that there's teams out there on an island without a home right now. But you can see we're starting to learn all the like real details of like what this meant at one point in time. You're like, okay, that's suitors, but none of them had big money offers. Okay, right. That makes sense. And so I'm glad that we're unpacking this a little bit and getting more into how this unfolded.
One of the thoughts and the theories about USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten and not wanting Oregon or Washington was because they could have their footprint in California, and also that Oregon and Washington, not to mention, are pretty good. Today, USC